The northern half of the province geologically is different. It has no clay, virtually, no binders. So the radiation that fell, plus the index of transfer of that radiation to woods, to trees, to nutrients, to grass, is so much higher that in effect this is more contaminated than Zhytomyr, which is right next to Chernobyl. So this is the most contaminated area in Ukraine. And we also notice that the northern 3 counties are of particular interest. They are the most isolated, and I will come back to that. And they have seasonal flooding, just like in Louisiana. And that gives legs to a lot of radiation. It can move. So it's an ecologic isolate, it's a population isolate. As an isolate, they marry each other, and it has the highest index of transfer of cesium from soil to plant. And they have to eat or die from hunger, because they can't go anywhere to buy food. They can't go anywhere to heat, or else they freeze, so they burn radioactive wood. So, to summarize, special population, special ecology, special radiation, well, we have a real niche. Ideal for multidisciplinary long-term studies of health impacts of anything. So we're not after selling that radiation is the only problem. We don't want children with congenital malformations, whatever the cause. So after confirmation, we are now starting this sort of presentations. And I'm going only to talk about Polossia and Rivne, and only to talk about 2 or 3 anomalies, because as you know, there are 500 of them. And we did, at the same time, surveys to try to narrow down what could be the cause. But this is description. This is descriptive epidemiology, which is not designed to prove cause-effect. It is only designed to prove what's going on. So we know that the neural tube defects in Polossia are the highest in Europe. And that's up to Eurocat to say no. They are funded by the European Union to do exactly that. We also know that microcephaly is the highest in Europe. And so is microphthalmia. 3 anomalies that are known to be associated with either alcohol or with either or both ionizing radiation, but there are little differences. So naturally, we were very lucky to have one of the longest NIH-funded projects to detect early as possible, fetal alcohol syndromes before birth of these children. So we start with teratogenic risks. Let's start with alcohol. That's where the money is, that's where the bank is, that's where the NIH pays for people to do, so we do. And we conclude that that cannot be an explanation of what we see in Polossia. So we see a couple of thousand women at considerable effort, we screen them, and we demonstrate that actually in Polossia, these women that are pregnant drink much less, not much more, than the other women that live in different cities. Secondly, we look at where do we find FASD, fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, and we find many more elsewhere. So the rates are higher away from Polossia than in Polossia. So we now look at radiation. Well, we don't have money, we don't have expertise, you are the experts, we're just plain pediatricians. We are pedestrian pediatricians. So, but we know that radiation has legs, and they get mobilized regularly. The fires occur every summer. One kind of tree has 20 times as much radiation per kilogram than another kind of tree, so there's no point in generalizing. A burning pine is different from a burning willow, different organisms. And we know that this averaging out doesn't tell you a thing. It's a trick, indeed, I agree. The averaging out tricks are not good enough for a mother of a child with a congenital malformation. And 76% of them heat and cook by burning wood and then take the ash and fertilize their little home garden. So they keep concentrating and concentrating. So actually the concentrations are higher now than they were 15 years ago, because the bioconcentration takes time. And so the pregnant women do the easy task. They go and burn dried potato stems. The potato harvest is do or die. Potato is a central element of nutrition. And if you're old enough, sit home and burn radioactive wood and stay warm and cook potato pancakes. And you can go and get blintzes here in New York, in the Carnegie Deli, and they're terrible, so don't order them. Just take a look at them. So what do? We collect these plants and look at what's in them. So if a woman can incorporate radiation, can a potato? I presume it can incorporate. So we look, and to our surprise, we find strontium. We don't believe it. We run it again. And there it is. So we have a ratio of how much cesium to strontium, but all the measures and all the public health is based on cesium. We ignore strontium, and strontium for a fetus is much more important than we believe, because potassium is everywhere, but strontium has to go to specialized enzymes and skeletons and teeth and dentin and all kinds of other things, and it's going to stay with that child until it dies. So it's going to be radiating the potassium, they'll be urinating it out, the cesium. But the strontium, once it stays where it is. Now, I'm not going to repeat that, but anyhow, we take a couple of thousand people, 20,000 people, 20,000 measurements of whole body counts. It's a lot of work. And we find that 48% of women in those 3 counties are above what the Ministry of Health says is safe. So, here it is. Now, how sensitive is a fetus? Shall we compute a woman as an adult, although she is pregnant, or shall we focus on the sensitivity of the fetus? I don't know of a single citation, if you do, please give me, of what is the sensitivity of a fetus. We say a child has 3,800 becquerels upper limit, and an adult 11,453 3/4. But how much does the fetus have? So anyhow, here we are stuck. We did not expect to find things. We simply followed the lead. And now we have microcephaly, not alcohol. It can be due to all kinds of things, from abracadabra to the moon to whatever have you. This is descriptive epidemiology. But also has to be logical. So let's check. Maybe we miss minor effects, minor reductions of the head size. Because we did a very strict definition of microcephaly of 3 standard deviations or less. Otherwise, you're not microcephalic. You can be very, very retarded and have epilepsy and have a very small head. But if it's not 3 standard deviations, we don't count you. But now let's do the other way. Let's measure all the heads. So this is a comparison of about 15,000 measurements at birth. And to our surprise, no difference in birth weights, but a statistically significant reduction of head size in those 3 counties. What are you going to do with that? This is subclinical, probably, I don't know. Probably these children, you won't distinguish them from anyone else. But it's known radiation effect on the nervous system. So let's look beyond Ukraine. Well, there are studies by very reputable epidemiologists. They were then working at the CDC, and they go to Hanford, and they do a first study, and they find neural tube defect elevations, and they dismiss it because of whatever reason. Good reasons, but nonetheless, they are good scientists, so they repeat the study. And they confirm the study. Different approach. And they dismiss it again fundamentally because it contradicts the Hiroshima-Nagasaki observation.